So again, I'm Marty Grunder, happy to be here with you today. I'm a born and raised Daytonian, and I would definitely not be classified as a genius. Thanks for reading my bio that I wrote, John. I appreciate that, but let me fill in a couple more details. I'm a 1990 model of the University of Dayton, where I graduated with a 2.21. For those, yes. Thank you. I worked very hard to get to that point. That's a true story. That was the dean's list last semester got me that far, so imagine the carnage I did prior to that. For the last 30 years, I've been working on my MBA. How many of you know what an MBA is? What's an MBA? Master's in no. Massive bank account, okay? And in 2008, 9, and 10, that didn't work so well. Anybody relate? Okay, I learned some really new and permanent ways to run my business better. I do, however, have a PhD. It's in my garage, and that is called a post-hole digger. All right? I'm going to try to share with you in the next 50 minutes the things that I feel I have done to be successful. We have a couple things that we do. Maybe you've heard of Grunder Landscaping Company. Started in 1984 as a way to make money for college. We're celebrating our 35th year this year. Not many businesses make it beyond 5 years, let alone 35 years. We have a wonderful leadership team. In January of 2018, I stepped out of the day-to-day operations of the landscaping company to focus more of my efforts on the Grow Group, which is a business consulting firm. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Some wonderful lessons that I've learned in doing this. I should have done it 15 years ago. Did not realize how bad I was holding back the company. There's the things that young people get excited about in our industry, trucks and equipment and things like that. We started out with one vehicle. Today we have over 30 on the road that service various parts of the Miami Valley. We primarily focus on high-end residential design build work. We do everything from night lighting to a patio to maintain that, a swimming pool, a landscape design. You go on and think of the things that are possible for a nice residential landscape. We do that. We also do commercial work around buildings, but it tends to be something nice like Barry Staffing across the street is a client of ours. So we know who we are. And I hit you over the head with that to start because we're going to talk a little bit more about that. You got to know what you're good at. You got to know where your leverage point is. You got to know who your ideal client is. You got to realize that business is very, very competitive. And to stand out in the sea of sameness, you got to find a lane to swim in and you got to stay there. The Grow Group is a business consultancy that I started in 1995, and we deliver presentations all over the country. 95% of our customers in the Grow Group are the owners and leadership teams of landscaping companies. So, if you will, Grunder Landscaping Company serves as a living laboratory. We work on, we hopefully get close to, don't want to say perfection, we never think we're perfect. I think when you think you're perfect, you got major problems. You always have to be striving forward to look for new and better ways to do things. Grunder Landscaping Company serves as a living laboratory for which we work on things, make them better, processes, procedures, all the thing it takes to operate a highly functioning $5 million or greater landscaping company. We do events all over the country. The picture on the left side is our recently completed annual conference. It was in Denver, Colorado. We call that Grow. We do it all over the country once a year. This year we'll be in Charlotte. We anticipate having 600 owners and leaders from landscaping companies all over the country. Being successful, ladies and gentlemen, isn't easy, but the steps one needs to take to be successful are very easy to understand. I know being an entrepreneur can be very difficult. I know it can be overwhelming at times. I know you can sit in your office, and maybe your office is your car, your kitchen table, and you wonder what in the world you're doing. Now, let me share some common grounds with you. As a 35-year entrepreneur, there are still days when I go to get in my truck and leave Grunder Landscaping, and I wonder if I know what the hell I'm even doing. It happens, okay? The steps one needs to take to be successful in business and in life are really quite easy to understand. I topped the scales at 228 pounds at Christmas. That's enough. I've lost 22 pounds from then. Would any of you care to figure out the brilliant thing that I did to lose 22 pounds? 8 less, worked out more. I mean, am I a genius or what? I mean, that is just incredibly smart. So to lose weight, you eat less and work out more. I mean, that's brilliant. I can't believe I thought of that. Too many of us sit looking for newfangled ideas, and we chase everything constantly. Squirrel, Sorry. Instead of focusing on what we know through common sense to do right away. George Burns once said, "I'd rather be awful at something I love rather than great at something I hate." Pick a passion. Now, I get into this debate with entrepreneurs all the time, and I just don't understand the debate. I have a very good friend who tells me that you don't have to be passionate about something to be good at it. I totally 100% disagree with that. When you find what you love doing, it doesn't seem like work. When I get up in the morning, I don't have any problem pushing myself out of bed to go over on Old Byers Road and work in Miamisburg. Guess why? I love my job. Now, maybe we need to quit using the word passion. But to be blunt with all of you here today, since this is my hometown, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. I'm tired of justifying passion. Call it passion, call it purpose, call it love, call it your why. But if you don't have a why in place, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Charles Schwab said something brilliant. He said, "The man who does not work for the love of work, but only for money, is not likely to make much money, nor find much fun in life." Now, you've heard my bio. You saw all that iron in the picture. I do not have more money than I know what to do with. Okay? As a matter of fact, my oldest daughter's getting married in September. I have a GoFundMe page. Okay, I'm just kidding. That's a little bit of a stretch. I do not have a private jet. I do not fly privately. I fly hillbilly first class. You know what hillbilly first class is? That's when the seat next to you is open. That's hillbilly first class, okay? I'm very, very grateful for what I have. That picture up there should show you what I'm most grateful for. I have 4 great kids. They're all boys except for 3. They still appear to like to be around their father. And obviously, I outkicked my coverage. If you see my beautiful wife up there, I think she's the most beautiful woman in the world, and she puts up with all my shenanigans. She's a kindergarten teacher, so you know she's not adding to our net worth, okay? But I'm very, very fortunate. I get to work in a community that I was born and raised in. I get to make a difference doing landscaping. We have 50 people on our staff, so I'm impacting in a small way 50 other families. And those 50 families are in the community spending money with other companies like some of the ones represented here today. It is very easy, I think, to underestimate the impact that all of us can have on our community and in other people's lives. I absolutely love what Mark Twain said here. He said, "The 2 most important days in your life are the day when you were born and the day when you figure out why." So call it passion, call it love, call it purpose, call it your why. What's your why? If you don't have a why, don't worry about the who, the what, the where, or any of those other things. There's got to be a why first. There has to be a why. Now, there's some pitfalls with that. You got to be careful. They talked about the craziest business ideas you've ever had. I started a power washing company in 1990 as a senior at the University of Dayton because I'm Mr. Entrepreneur. My senior year at the University of Dayton, we did over $400,000 in business, and our story appeared in the New York Times. At the time, I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. My family didn't have any money. They borrowed money to send me to Alter High School. They certainly weren't going to have the money to send me to college at the University of Dayton. So if I was going to go to college, and I didn't want to take on any more debt, because to be blunt with you and be completely transparent, my folks got divorced when I was 21 years old, and almost all of the arguments were over money. And then when you go to a private high school that has all sorts of very wealthy kids, and I would go over to their houses, and I couldn't believe what they had. But do you know what home they wanted to go to, most of my classmates, my friends? They wanted to come to my house because we were rednecks out in the country, and we had a go-kart and a tractor and tomatoes that became rotten that you would bomb one another as you drove by on the go-kart. We had horses. We didn't have a very nice house. I shared a bedroom with my brother and my sister. I started to realize there's more to life than material things. What is your why? You've got to think about that, and you've got to be careful. The power washing business that I started in 1990, in a very big merger and acquisition, sold it to a gentleman by the name of Steve Hart for $1. That's a pretty good return, right? It failed miserably. I had no idea what I was doing. Undaunted by that failure, I tried it again with gift baskets by Grunder. I mean, can't you see the parallel? That one failed as well. I started a Christmas tree stand. The first year we had a Christmas tree stand in Springboro. I'm thinking it's something for my guys to do. This will work out great. I bought 1,500 of the most beautiful Christmas trees you ever saw in your life. Put them on T-bars, had a beautiful stand, had music playing. Santa Claus was there all the time. It was the nicest Christmas tree stand you'd ever want to see. December 23rd, of the 1,500 Christmas trees I had purchased, I had 1,350 of them left. You know what you call that? Mulch. I didn't know what I was doing. Why couldn't I have just stayed focused on Grunder landscaping? 35 years, it's painfully obvious to me why I couldn't. One's strengths are also their weaknesses. This creativity that we have as entrepreneurs, if you can harness all of that and put it in the right direction towards something that the marketplace wants and needs, you will win. If you take that energy and you keep starting up and starting up and starting up, squirrel, 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 everywhere, you're never going to get anywhere. No one wants to be considered a squirrel in their leadership and entrepreneurial habits, right? You ever been driving down the road and seen a squirrel? I've realized that when I see a squirrel, if you hit the gas, you're not going to hit him. No one wants to be considered a squirrel, that mindless running after ideas. Around 1997 or 98, I was still chasing ideas, and this is how it would go on a Monday. I'd read a book over the weekend. I'd call my whole team together, and I said, I read a great new book, and this time, this is what we're going to do. New people were like, God, this guy's a great speaker. I love what he has to say. This is awesome. Old people be like, just relax. Marty's going to read another book next weekend, and we're going to start this process all over again. So what's your why? The second thing I'll share with you, beyond picking a passion, is get paid to learn. My 18-year-old son, Grant, who just graduated from Alter High School, started at Grunder Landscaping last Tuesday. The last thing I'm going to do is anoint him as the Savior and give him preferential treatment in front of everyone else. In fact, he's got a bullseye on his back, and he's going to have to work harder and do more than anyone else there because his last name is Grunder. You know how many landscaping companies across the country I work with where someone promotes their family member because of their last name and not their talent? I'm not doing that to Grant. But what's Grant doing right now? Grant Grunder is getting paid to learn. He thinks he wants to come into the company upon his graduation from Miami University. He's going to major in business with a minor in horticulture. I love it. Sets up good, son. We'll see what happens. But you never know. I might sell the business. There may not be an opportunity for you. I don't know. Don't put all your eggs in Dad's basket. I'll be a good father to you. I'll provide for you. But you're going to have to earn this. Whatever business you aspire to get into, there's all types of ways you can learn how to run that business. In fact, let me share with you something that might be surprising. If you were to knock on our door and tell us, my 5-year plan is to start a landscaping company, I would like to have a job here to try to learn from one of the best in Dayton, Ohio, what do you think I used to say to that? Hell no, go away. I don't need any more competition. I'm not going to show you all my secrets and then have you go take them. Secrets? Everything we do at Grunder, I've stolen from someone else. That's the cat calling the kettle black, right? We would love to have you with us for 5 years. That's awesome that you might want to start your own business. Because for 5 years, we're going to get a very passionate employee that's going to wake up in the morning with a sense of purpose. 5 years is over 1,500 days. That guy can help us, or that lady can help us make a lot of money. And we'll make deposits into their bank account. And listen, folks, everyone has 2 bank accounts. We have the monetary bank account that resides in our wallet, the local financial institution, but there's also that emotional bank account that sits right here. And you as a leader, as a difference maker in our community, you better be making deposits in both of them. Tomorrow we're shutting down at noon. All 50 of our people, every single asset you saw on that slide is headed to Trotwood to clean up after the storm. I do well enough, we should be doing that. We can give back, okay? But also think about how that will motivate our team and how we can have some laughter. I spent 3 hours in Old North Dayton yesterday running a chainsaw with 3 of my maniac friends. Some of the worst exhibits of unsafe behavior I've ever seen in my life. I had all my stuff on. They were laughing at me. I had my chaps, my helmet, my jacket, all that stuff. They're sawing stuff above their head. It would have been a great safety video to show on what not to do. But we made a difference. An 84-year-old man came out from his house over there by Eleanor's Amber Rose in tears. His name's Otis. And he said, I can't believe people are this nice. People are nice in Dayton. Give back. Get paid to learn. Have a business that does well that you can go back and give other things. In my opinion, this is the greatest entrepreneur on the screen right here to ever come from Dayton, Ohio. I am so fortunate that he's a friend and mentor of mine. He learned how to put Imes, that's Clay Mattil if you live under a rock and don't know who he is. He goes into the Imes Corporation, Imes Pet Food Company on Delphus Avenue, not too far from here. They're doing $500,000 a year and they're selling pet food. At the time, Mr. Mattil is a Campbell's Soup rep. He sees dogs running around this plant and their coats are glistening. He begins to investigate more. And he realizes there might be an attempt here to be successful with this pet food company. He goes on to buy half of the company from Dr. Imes and then goes on to buy him out. Started in 1976 as a $500,000 a year operation. He sold it in 1999 to Procter & Gamble for $2.3 billion. He was the only shareholder. Now, when you hear the story, or you go to his wonderful give back to Dayton, Aileron, up north in Bethel Township, you may think the guy was a genius. And there's not anything we could learn. I could never do that. What I've realized in studying and learning from Clay, the genius is in how he organized things, and the genius is in how he leveraged his strengths. I heard him speak one time, and he said, everybody thinks I'm so smart, but it wasn't until 1986 that I realized our customers were dogs and cats. And then he looks out at the audience like I'm looking at you, and he goes, duh. He said, everyone thinks I'm so smart, but it wasn't until about 1987 that I realized we ought to be hiring people that had dogs and cats. Duh. The genius in Mr. Mattil, I get to call him Clay, is in the wisdom he had in organizing an operation. It's in the wisdom for listening to people. They were losing a couple $1 million a year at one of their manufacturing plants because when the blades make the pet food, if they're dull, they send off a lot of scraps. The story goes, some guy came forward. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. He's got long hair, it's in a ponytail. He's got earrings going up and down. He's got a chain wallet, harness boots, Harley Davidson t-shirt and jeans. Says, I have an idea. Organizations that don't value people, don't see potential in everyone with them, don't listen to people like that. Mr. Mattil did. He said, the guy in the guard shack that lets all the trucks in at night, he's not really doing anything. Why don't we give him a sharpening machine and have him sharpen all the blades on the grinders at night, and then we can see what we can do. He started doing that. They saved, it was something like $1.8 million a year in scrap waste went away because of that. That's the genius in what he did. It started by getting paid to learn on someone else's dime at Campbell's Soup and then starting out at Imes. How are you going to get paid to learn? Sometimes entrepreneurs, to get something off the ground, have to work another job. Sometimes young people take the job that pays more without having a focus on the vision for where they're trying to go. If you think someday you want to operate a landscaping company, I can't think of a better place in Dayton, Ohio than to come work for us. Newsflash, you're not going to make $32 an hour. But if it contributes to the vision and it gets you to success faster, I ask you at Startup Week in Dayton, Ohio, at this lovely venue, to consider it. The third thing that I want to share with you is to surround yourself with winners. There's no greater winner than that lady right there. That's my mom. Unfortunately, I lost her 3 months ago. That's her cherry pie. You want to talk about a winner? It's going to take me a couple years, but I am going to figure out how she did the pies. My first 2 attempts suck, but I'm going to get there. My mom never told me I couldn't do something. Oh, she said, "Oh my God," a lot. When I bought a $25,000 Bobcat and signed the paperwork in my dorm at the University of Dayton in 1988, she was a little concerned about that. When she came home to our humble house in Sugar Creek Township, and there was a dump truck backed up in the parking spot at the house, she called me and said, "Marty, where did you get this dump truck?" I said, "I bought it." She said, "Oh dear God, are you dealing drugs?" I said, "No, Mom. Where did you get money to buy that?" I said, "I saved it up." "How much was the dump truck?" $12,500. Well, you have that kind of money? "Yeah, I've got more than that. I paid cash for the truck. I got another 20 in my savings account." "Yeah, you have got to be doing something illegal. What are you doing?" Statute of limitations is over. I probably wasn't paying taxes is probably what I was doing. Just being honest. Maybe. I knew what I wanted to do when I was down there at the University of Dayton. I would see other landscaping companies around our community, and I would say, "Gosh, if that guy can do that, I know I can do that." And I would flat wear the owners of other landscaping companies out with my questions. My mom was always most concerned about who I was spending my time with. To this day, my best friends, Bill Ewell Jr., Todd Romer, John Brogan, were guys I met at Archbishop Alter High School. And today, they are winners. Some of them have more money than others, but they've got core values, and they have integrity, and they are wonderful fathers and contributors to their communities. Surround yourself with winners. Surround yourself with winners at home. Surround yourself with winners at work. Socialize with winners. If you want to be a winner, get around other winners. It's as simple as that. Who are the winners in your life? Who are the people that give you energy when you meet with them? Those are the types of people that you need to meet with. So many of us go through life spending time with a lot of negative people. And I'm not going to lie to you, I do meet from time to time with some negative people. And my goal in those types of meetings are always to see if I can't get them to see what's possible. I look at certain things and I see what's possible. I think there's potential for people everywhere. When we get around other positive people, what happens? This is the interactive part. I came in last night and I put a little electronic device underneath the chair. So from here on out, in the remaining 20 minutes or so of my presentation, when I ask for feedback, if you look straight down, I'm calling on you. If you don't, I'm going to direct this little button, and it will emit an electrical charge to the bottom of your chair and light your butt up, all right? What happens when we're around other positive people? Go ahead. You become positive yourself. Now, I will tell you something. My father dealt with depression, and it basically ended up killing him. So this notion that you should just think happy and think positive thoughts and things will come, that's a fallacy. And people spreading that advice need to stop. Some people battle things and they have a chemical imbalance in their brain. They can't see it positive. Be a friend to somebody. After my father passed away, he was in the mental ward or the mental wing at Kettering Hospital. They were trying to get him right. And the day before his life ended, he said the most wonderful things to me he'd ever said in his life. He told me for the first time ever, he said, "Love you, Mart." He had never said, "Love you." And the next day he passed away, All Saints Day, November 1st. And I took to heart that I finally got him to hear some things that I wish he would have said sooner, but he didn't. Some people can't think positively, so don't want to go off the tracks too far there, but just keep that in mind. This notion that, just think happy, that doesn't happen for everyone. I went and saw a psychologist after my father passed away, and I said to her, I'm concerned. I know this can be hereditary, yes. What do I need to do? She said, when people are telling you don't seem yourself, and you're hearing that again and again, you need to get in here. There's things they can do. Now, let me give you another news flash. I'm a real transparent guy. I still see a psychologist. I'm not afraid to admit that to you. My wife says to me 4 years ago, she says, "Marty, you're getting too mad too soon, too fast about stuff that doesn't matter." I said, "I know." She's like, "You got to go back and see Dr. So-and-so." I said, "Yeah, I know." I went in and saw her, and she really helped me with something I want to share with you right now, because it makes a difference in business. Your ability to be successful in business, your ability to get winners to surround you, are you the type of person others want to be around? And she shared with me that when you get angry right away like that, your message is lost. All that people hear and feel is the anger. Have you ever heard a parent yell at their children to stop yelling? I mean, is that the dumbest thing ever? Will you stop yelling? Really? So as an entrepreneur, those of you that have already gone down the highway and are getting off on the exit towards success, those of you that are aspiring to get there, be a leader that others want to be around. And you can, with help, learn to channel that energy that you have towards good things. One's strengths are also their weaknesses. My level of intensity is off the charts. I can get so focused and have so much determination towards something, you wouldn't believe what I can do. It's amazing. But when I don't turn that off, and I walk into the home with that attitude, Lisa will quickly remind me, you are not the CEO of this house. I am. Pipe down. Do you know your strengths and weaknesses? Embrace them both. Most entrepreneurs that I work with, their strengths are also their weaknesses. Their creativity is an unbelievable gift from God. But if you keep creating and you don't execute, what's in the bank account? Typically, we don't get paid for our creativity. We get paid for executing upon our creativity. You with me? You create something, that's great, but you got to sell it. And when we keep starting and doing the same thing over and over again with no execution, it doesn't work. Surround yourself with winners. You have to be a winner to attract winners. You got to be someone others want to be around. Treat others the way you'd want to be treated. If you struggle with that, that's okay. When I was at the University of Dayton, they never spoke of something called emotional intelligence. Now, here's the interactive part. Who can tell me what emotional intelligence is? All right, who's looking down? Let's see. What's emotional intelligence? Your emotional maturity level, that's part of it. What else is it? Reading people, absolutely. Yeah. All great answers. It's about understanding how you come across. It's about understanding. It's not about you. It's about being empathetic. I hope there are some very empathetic employers in Dayton, Ohio right now for all these poor folks that got involved in that tornado last Monday. Can you imagine losing all your house? And you, the entrepreneur, just focus, well, why can't they just get in a hotel and get in here? Put yourself in other people's shoes. When I was at the University of Dayton in 1990, they never talked about emotional intelligence. IQ was talked about, it still is today. IQ is your ability to learn things. That cannot be changed, and mine is quite low, to be blunt with you. Your intelligence quotient is your ability to learn things. Can't be improved. It's what you have. Sorry, that's how it goes. But I've also met a lot of people with very high IQ that can't get out of their own way, all right? So just let's not go too far on the extremes. Your EQ is your emotional intelligence, the emotional quotient. And psychologists have actually found that one can be improved. And it can be improved by doing something simple as not reacting when an employee comes to you with something right away. Not reacting when an angry client calls. When an angry client used to call me or confront me, you put your dukes up at me, mine are going right up too. I remember we planted about an 8-inch tree in Mrs. Tallheimer's front yard over in Kettering 25 plus years ago. We had to get a backhoe, bring it in the yard. We tore the yard up, put the big tree in. She calls me and she says, Marty, this is Mrs. Tallheimer, and I do not like that tree. I don't swear a whole lot, but I'm going to swear. I said to myself, holy shit, what am I going to do about this? If she doesn't like that tree weighed 3,500 pounds. We're not going to get that back out of the ground. What am I going to do? Well, she was a very sweet lady, so I certainly wasn't going to yell at her over the phone. So went over, I saw her in person. I pull up in front of the house, I'm like, the tree looks fine. What in the world could she be complaining about? This is a very good lesson for me to learn in my 20s. Went to the door very confidently. I said, hi, Mrs. Tallheimer. She said, hi, Marty. She goes, well, what do you think? I said, Mrs. Tallheimer, I think it looks nice, but, you're the customer. You're not happy. Well, those bushes underneath the tree that you put in, they're this big. Could we get some that are this big? There were 3 of them. They were like $10 a piece. We replaced the 3 bushes with 3 bigger ones. She gave me a hug and said, now it looks great. Had I done this, who knows what would have happened, right? Do you know how many times in the first 20 years of my business career I said, let me think about it? Not enough times. I ended up in way too many arguments. You know how many times in the last 15 years I've said, let me think about it, let me look into this? I'm sharing secrets here in Dayton, okay? I probably shouldn't be doing this. Normally I speak far from home where I can lie and tell all kinds of crazy stories. Here I'm in my hometown, I got to be careful. If I say let me think about it, that's code word for not sure I agree with you, got to let this process, not going to let my emotions get the best of me now. I'm going to take a pause. You with me? Work on your emotional intelligence. Another step, ask questions. What major obstacles have you had in becoming successful? If you had to do it all over again, would you? I will tell each and every one of you, if there's something I can do to help you with your startup, give me a call. I'm happy to meet with you. I'm happy to help you. Entrepreneurs like myself, this is how I fill up my emotional bank account, is by helping, by giving back. So ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I flat wore out half the landscaping companies in town. One of them, I think, regrets sharing what he shared with me. Sorry. Ask questions. 3 of the most successful entrepreneurs you'd ever meet in your life ask questions. The first one is Helen Barnett DeSarens. She invented Ban Roll-On deodorant. This is back in the 50s. They're trying to figure out a new way to market deodorant and to make a change because everyone's doing the same thing. And she's in a little group, and one of the people on her team says, why don't we dispense deodorant the way ink comes out of a ballpoint pen? And she goes on to invent Ban Roll-On deodorant. Now, I know it's a long time ago, but if you go back and Google all of the uproar over this new deodorant that people were running to stores to buy, think about it. They're going crazy over this. She invents Ban Roll-On deodorant by questioning the application of something else in life. Fred Smith started a little company called FedEx. In 1965 at Yale University, he presents his idea for FedEx to his college professor in his class on a paper. The college professor tells him it won't work. What would most college students that had their college professor tell them their idea wouldn't work do? They would quit. All right. His idea was based on how the Federal Reserve clears checks, a hub and spoke system. Now, let me do a little side rant, because this is part of my therapy here today. Where do you go to learn how to practice medicine? You go to a university, right? And you learn how to perform medical procedures and the like from the teachers who are doctors that have done what? Practice medicine. Makes sense. Very logical, right? If you want to learn how to be a teacher, where do you go? You go to a university to learn how to teach from people who have done what? All right. Now here's the inconsistency. If you want to learn how to run a business, in most cases, where do you go? To colleges to learn how to run a business from someone who has never done what? Thank you. You with me? Most people in Fred Smith's shoes would have said, I gotta quit. The guy has a PhD. He's gotta be smart. He may be smart on theory, but he has no operational sense. He has no common sense. He's never had to make payroll. He doesn't know what the marketplace wants and needs. Last year, FedEx did $70 billion in sales, and the paper that Fred Smith got a C- on propelled him forward because he asked questions. The last one I want to share with you is probably my favorite. Dr. George de Menstrel was a general practitioner over in Switzerland, and he had a little lodge that he used to take his hunting dogs to. And he would allow them to run all the fields and the meadows in Switzerland. And they would return to his cabin, and those dogs were covered in little cockleburrs. Again, most people, faced with a problem, would say, damn cockleburrs, and start brushing them off. He takes the cocklebur off, puts it under a microscope. Now, how many people have a microscope in their hunting cabin? Puts it under a microscope, and on each one of those little cockleburrs sees hundreds of hook-like tentacles, and went on to invent Velcro. Velcro. Anybody got Velcro on them right now? Yeah, when you get old, young people, you wear Velcro shoes, okay? Ask questions. Be aware. Pay attention. Listen to your clients and listen to your team members. They'll tell you what you need to do. Mrs. Jones, Marty Grunder, Grunder Landscaping Company. Hi, Marty, how are you? I'm fine. I'm following up to make sure the spring cleanup was good. The spring cleanup was great. Your billing process stinks. What do you mean? Well, I know I'm an older lady, but I like to pay all my bills online, and you don't have an online portal. Mrs. Jones, thank you. I'm not sure I know what an online portal is, but I will look into it. Guess what we now have? An online portal. When you get that pipeline going, when you start talking to people, things work, folks. You get great insight on how to move your business forward. The final step I want to share with you on this glorious Monday Startup Week is to perform a way that's contrary to the norm. I would like to think Grunder Landscaping Company is a shining star in the green industry. Now, we were asleep at the wheel and let someone else steal that term, but this is the green industry that I operate in. Let me share with you some of the brilliant things we do to stand out in the sea of sameness and perform in a way that's contrary to the norm. Number one, all our trucks are clean. Had a guy come up to me in Kroger's last year. He says, Marty, I'm Ben. Hi, Ben. Hey, I got to ask you, how do you keep your truck so clean? Hey, Ben, pipe down, man. You're in one of my secret zones. If you come closer, I'll tell you how we do this. But I swear, if you tell anyone how I keep my trucks clean, I will burn your house down. Well, okay, Marty. I mean, yeah, I'd really like to know. I don't understand how you keep them so clean. We wash them. Now, what's the brilliance in it? It's not that the trucks are clean. It's the intentionality of doing something that we know makes a difference. I have to speak in Dallas, Texas next week. When I go over to the Dayton International Airport and I go to get on my Delta flight to Dallas, and I look out the window, and that Delta airplane has mud all over it and a dent in the side of it, you think I'm going to get on that plane? My wife and I were in Florida on spring break a couple years ago. We get to the condo that we were renting for the week, and we go into the Publix that was a couple blocks away from the condo we were staying at. We went in there to get a bunch of food for the week. I went into the men's restroom, and I could not believe what I saw. I immediately got my wife. I said, we're getting the hell out of here. She's like, what's the matter? Somebody have a gun? No, nobody has a gun. It is Florida, duh, but nobody has a gun. The bathroom is absolutely disgusting. What does that have to do with getting food? If the place they're letting us into looks like that, what do the places that they're not letting us into look like? Right? I don't want to eat from that deli. We left. Focus on a lot of basic things. Let me share with you one other brilliant thing that we do. When you call our office, guess what we do? We call you back. Is that brilliant or what? Don't get so focused on some gimmick. I see all these startups that talk about their foosball tables and their pool tables and the unlimited snacks and drinks and everything else that they provide. Let me share something with you. If you're an a-hole, all the foosball tables and drinks and snacks in the world are not going to overcome that. Culture is not a foosball table. Culture is how we treat one another and genuinely show our love for one another. Culture is how you show your people to take care of the customer by the actions that you personally demonstrate on a daily basis. Being different isn't hard. Be nice. Be on time. My friend Eric Soller, that runs the wonderful startup, Old Scratch Pizza. Anybody been there before? That is an amazing operation. My son just graduated from Alter. I took his whole entrepreneurship class over there. Eric gave a brilliant presentation on what's made him successful. The students read my book, and then we went through all the 9 steps to point out what Eric had done there. It's amazing. But Eric said 2 things that really rang home with me that I wanted to share with you today. Number 1, he said that the 3 managers he hired when he started the business in 2016 are still with him. That tells me Eric is an empathetic leader with a lot of emotional intelligence, and he's leading. How many food service businesses could say they've kept 3 managers, let alone one like that? One of the students wisely asked Eric what his secret to success was with people, and he said, we hire nice people. It's as simple as that. Charles Kettering is one of my heroes here from Dayton, and here's one of his famous quotes. The world hates change, yet it is the only thing that has brought progress. And I want to close with you here with one more story. An entrepreneur's success is found in the vision that they come up with to then go and run the business towards. Vision is your ideal state. Mission is what you do on a daily basis to achieve that vision. Vision comes first. Structure always follows strategy. We don't go and buy a fleet of trucks and then find the work. We find the work and then go buy the trucks. We don't show up in Mrs. Jones' backyard and begin trying to figure out how we're going to build a pool and everything else. We do plans. Structure always follows strategy. What is your vision? Where are you going? One last story to close with you. Charles Kettering was a very interesting man. He would tell his secretary to inform unwanted visitors that he had died to keep them from coming back. I have religiously used that tactic for 20 years, and it has stopped a lot of Diamond Blade salesmen, Aflac salesmen. Sorry if Aflac's in the room. It works. Try it. Just kidding, sort of. He has his engineering and process improvement team with him on a Monday morning, and he becomes incensed when one of them, when the team was given the task of developing a faster quick-drying paint, told him that they figured out a way to knock 2 days off quick-drying paint. In 1919, it took 37 days to paint an automobile. Imagine what that would do for a manufacturing process. You're waiting for all paint sitting everywhere trying to dry. We can't make anything else until that dries. Kettering saw something no one else saw. And sometimes, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, sometimes you do have to show a little emotion. When he heard that they had taken the process of painting an automobile from 38 days down to 36, he became very angry with them. He said, "An hour's all it ought to take to paint an automobile. Why don't you folks see this? We can do this." So he went to work developing his own quick-drying paint. He invited the young engineer that had told him the process of painting an automobile could only be done in 36 days. He invited that young engineer to drive to lunch. Coincidentally, he looked a little bit like you. They went to a local sandwich shop. Kettering and the young man went in. They had lunch. They returned to the parking lot approximately an hour and 5 minutes later, and the young engineer that looked like this gentleman up here in the front row was confused and embarrassed that he could not find his car. Kettering motioned to a nearby automobile and said, "Young man, isn't that your vehicle?" And the young man said, "Well, that looks like mine, but mine isn't that color." To which Kettering responded, "It is now." Now, Charles Kettering had some management tactics and leadership tactics that I would not suggest. But at the end of the day, he did something every entrepreneur does, and every single one of you needs to do as well. You have to look at your vision, and you have to be asking questions, and you have to see what you personally can not just invest in money, but in time and spirit and love. I wish you all the best of luck the rest of Startup Week. If there's anything at all I can do for you, let me know. And if you happen to know anyone looking for a pretty good landscaper, I know the one to call. Have a great week.